As I struggled, I heard a voice inside my head that said, "Be still, you've been practicing for this." Now, I enjoy living by the lake, and I'm okay that I don't live right on it right now. Just being closer to it is a good step for me. I know some people are water babies, and when I was younger, we had neighbors. We moved out to the country and had neighbors who had a pool, and Tanya and I would play games in the pool and practice who could sit on the bottom the longest. And sometimes we'd, do handstands and flips and, all kinds of stuff underwater to help us practice holding our breath. Playing Marco Polo. And then one day, surprisingly, we ended up with a pool in our yard. And it was smaller than the neighbors, and I wasn't overly impressed. I really didn't even know why it is that we got one, to be honest with you. Because not only did my neighbors have one, but the neighbors on the other side of them had one as well, that my older sister would go over there to play in their pool. Because those kids were a little bit older. So it worked out well. We really didn't have a need for one, in my opinion. But I was kind of made to feel obligated to use it. And so I was invited into the pool, and being splashed wasn't exactly my idea of fun. So I really didn't care for that game. And it wasn't really big enough to throw me or do backflips. So now that was kind of out of the question too. But there was one game that we played where he would hold me underwater with his foot, and at first I didn't understand the game because I wasn't used to somebody actually holding me underwater. We kind of did it voluntarily. But as I struggled, I heard a voice inside my head that said, "Be still, you've been practicing for this." And I thought, okay, you're right, I have been. So I practiced what I've been practicing, and I just went completely limp. And I laid there. And I just listened to the silence. And eventually, the foot came off my back, and I heard them exit the pool. But I wasn't done holding my breath yet, so I stayed down there a little bit longer. I wanted to see how long I could stay, because it was a different kind of game, but I figured I'd give it a try. And I also kind of felt like maybe it wasn't such a good game after all. So staying on the bottom was probably my best bet. So when I got up from there, I very quietly moved to the edge of the pool, closest to the house, where my face wouldn't be seen when it surfaced from the water for air. Just my face. And once I'd caught my breath enough, and I was careful to be quiet, I didn't want to start making a bunch of noise. I decided to peek my head out over the edge of the pool. I didn't see anybody around, so I decided it was a good time to scurry out of that pool and head up to the neighbor's house. And then I thought, it was I didn't really care for the game, but I was invited into the pool again at a later time, our pool, And again, I wasn't a fan of the splashing game. That wasn't really my thing. And then we played the hold me underwater game again. And of course I listened to myself from the same time as before, and I fought for a little bit, and then I went limp. And again, stayed at the bottom of the pool while they exited. And I never went in that pool again after that. And for some reason, I've just never really been a big fan of the water. I like being on it. I love to go fishing. I like skiing or tubing or, whatever. I like kayaking now. I would totally do stand-up paddleboard. And I did learn scuba when I went to Hawaii many, many years ago. I'm sorry, I learned snorkeling, not scuba. My son and his wife know how to scuba. They're certified. But I would totally do that because now I realize that I enjoy the peacefulness of just sitting at the bottom and listening and watching the world around me, because that was a fun part of the game that Tanya and I used to enjoy, not the other part. So, when we face certain things in our life and we see them from a different perspective, we can understand why it is that we have some unfounded fears. But what's the purpose of it, right? What is it? Maybe the purpose is to look at it from a different perspective, and help other people. I know that individuals dealing with their own karma. I'm not concerned about that. They have their own issues prior to that incident, and I don't know what initially caused his behavior when he was younger, but I know it caused it in his later years, and it doesn't excuse anything. But maybe my fear is to get over the water. Get over my fear of the water. Maybe that's what I need to do. And I will one day. But right now, Pepper and I are okay with getting our feet wet and then heading back home. But I'll face my fears of the water again. In a much different, more fun way. We'll go scuba diving and snorkeling and looking at the fishes, and I would totally look at sharks. Those kinds of things don't bother me. I don't fear nature. Nature's never hurt me like people have, And so that's what I lean on, and then I look at with every different kind of fun experience and lessons that were taught in this lifetime. So anyway, I guess it's a lesson for today. One day we all have to face our fears in one way or another.